I think we are long overdue for a hardcore conversation about racism. I feel like we mostly ignore racism as much as possible. So white people ignore it as much as possible. It shouldn't be an inconvenience to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But white people a lot of the time treat it that way.
Yeah.
And I think we should talk about it very realistically. I think when we think about it, we think about it in hyperbole. We think about it in like the extremes of our own position. The other thing too, racism, everyone's a victim. Unless you are directly a perpetrator of it, everyone else kind of suffers for it. Whether you're the target of the racism or not. And I mean, like, I got to qualify that by saying white people, a lot of them feel like they're a victim to the malicious actions of their great 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 grandparents,
Yeah.
or their grandparents, or their great grandparents, or
Yeah.
whatever, to different degrees, of course. So black people feel like they are the victims of the system and of like systemic oppression, something that pushes them into poverty and something that pushes them away from good schools and pushes them to a point where their vote isn't as important, and pushes them into, for people who really have done their homework about people like Margaret Sanger, pushes them out of existence. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
Okay, Margaret Sanger was the founder of Planned Parenthood.
Oh, okay.
She was very racist. Blatantly,
Jeez.
like she wanted the extermination of black people. Okay.
Wow.
Very Hitlerian, and
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that. So she wasn't shooting people in the head,
Yeah.
but her philosophy was Hitler's philosophy.
Okay.
She did a whole lot to put up Planned Parenthoods in greater density in black neighborhoods. There is definitely stuff to be upset about,
Yeah.
But there is something that's happening, and it's happening to every white person, that we're being made to feel guilty, even if we are not racist. Even if we stand up to racists about racism, we're still in that group of like, well, you've got your white privilege. And then this whole thing the other day of like, this woman bought my friend groceries,
Yeah.
and some cynical asshole said, oh, it's just white guilt. And it's like, no, it was an act of kindness, you
Yeah.
fucking cynical bastard. Like,
And so what? I mean, like, so someone's allowed to feel guilty because I'm like, no, but the way I see it is like, I
right,
can't.
but she bought the groceries of the white woman in front of her too.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. But even still, so fucking what, right?
Yeah, even if it was just like, hey, I'm trying to repair relationships with
Exactly. Exactly.
You
That's
know?
why I'm saying so what.
you. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, but calling that guilt, rather than calling that an act of kindness,
Yeah.
calling that an act of white guilt,
Yeah.
fuck
Fuck
you.
that, yeah.
Like, that is so shitty. That is so fucking racist. Everybody feels like they can't win
Yeah.
with racism. The only people who feel like they can win is the people who really are guilty of all the stuff that every white person is apparently guilty of right now, and don't care.
Yeah.
Those are the people who can win in this system. Because, like, well, at least the accusations are correct. It just makes it harder for everyone. I was
Yeah.
just thinking about this morning. It is the thing of all of the petty, shallow things that we could judge each other on. It is the thing we have the least control over.
Yeah.
We can change our hair color. We can change our hairstyle. We can change the texture of our hair. We can change our eye color, our complexion, our weight, our athletic abilities.
teeth.
You can change, your teeth,
Yeah.
your personality in so many ways. You can change your level of patience. You can change your IQ.
Yeah.
Something as fundamentally unchangeable as the IQ, and you can change it. Holy smokes. Like, every other thing about yourself. You can change your kindness. You can change how much you depress or make people happy. You can change, like, whether you're a motivator or someone who brings a room down. Like, you can be both in the same lifetime. You can change your skills. You can
Yeah.
change your income. You
Yeah.
can change your surroundings.
Totally.
All of it.
You can change your friends.
You have
can
power
change
over all that
You
stuff.
can change your family.
So we have picked the one thing that nobody has power over, and we have judged them to their core based on that.
Yeah.
That is
So
horrible.
shallow.
What is that?
It is so shallow.
And what is it that this one thing that we have utterly no control over that has us this fucked up? That has some of us feeling so outcast and some of us feeling so sorry for the shitty actions of our ancestors.
Yeah. Right.
So like ready to sort of distance ourselves from our parents because they have a little streak of it in them. I mean, it's just bad. It's bad on all sides.
It's all bad. It's all bad. Yeah. And
Anyway.
and nobody wins. I mean, like, and that's what you're saying. Like, it affects from the top down. Someone is directly affected by racism, but what you're saying is, it just keeps going and keeps going.
And how do you escape that?
Or a feedback loop. I mean, kind of, right?
It is absolutely a feedback
Yeah.
loop. It requires a very conscious decision on a critical mass of people's part to change it. If we do nothing, it's going to get worse. And it is absolutely, you're totally correct. It is a feedback loop. The worse it gets, the worse it seems. The worse it seems, the worse it gets.
Yeah. The worse it gets, the angrier people are.
Yeah. The problem is, for whatever reason, the media, the powers that be in
Fucking
the
media.
I'm serious.
Ugh,
Like,
I know.
they have told us to hate each other based on this. I mean, there are statistics in, and actually Brian and I are doing a podcast about this tomorrow, about how many white on white crimes, black on white crimes, white on black on black, Hispanic on black on Hispanic, Hispanic on white, white on Hispanic, all of it.
Okay.
It's all out there.
Okay.
And there are also all the statistics on police brutality. How many white people, how many black people, how many Hispanics, how many Asians police killed, and I think it was 2018 that the
Okay.
stats are from. The smallest number on the entire graph is white police killing black citizens. It's the smallest number on the whole graph. But that's the thing we zoom in on.
Yeah.
There's so much more out there to be upset by.
Yeah.
But we're zooming in on this one little part, and we are letting it destroy us from the inside out. We're just buying it enough.
Yeah.
It's so far less prevalent than the media will tell you that it is. And when I say the media, we're propagating that stuff too. Every time
Yeah.
you take an article that does the same thing, where it's like, either black people looting a store, and it's sent out by a white person, and it says, "Have you made your point yet?" And then you've got the same picture but with white people, and it says, the next time, if you think that, I don't know, if you think that that black people are the only whatever, I don't even know.
Like, if you're more upset about looting and rioting than murder, then you're part of the problem. Is that what you're talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Like,
And people talking, and I saw something the other day that was like, it was a picture of a couple of white guys who were looting, and it's like, see, like, it's not just black people or whatever it was, and it's like, it's always about race.
Right.
Can this not, every caption on a photo, every meme, all of that stuff that propagates just more shit, basically, It's always about race.
I mean, it's a lot of things. I think it's a lot of things, but it's mostly, especially lately, it's
And
mostly about
like
race.
clickbait titles to articles.
Right. But it's what we give our attention to. Mm-hmm. We want to blame the media for this. We're sharing it on our Facebook pages, and far more people are seeing the things that we're sharing than we ever see on the news. Mm-hmm. We're asking for it. We're perpetuating it.
Yeah.
We have to stop doing that.
Yeah.
And step one, if you think it's impossible for your race to be racist, you're wrong. I don't know how else to say it. Anyone can hate anyone else for their skin color, and that is racism. To think that a black person could treat a white person in the same way that they wouldn't want to be treated by a white person, and that it would be something different, is racism. Mm-hmm. Do you see what I'm saying? Even just saying that there's a difference if I do it versus if you do it, because my skin's this color and your skin's that color, that's racism also. I mean, we just need to be more honest about what is racism.
Yeah.
How are we ignoring it? I mean, like, how are we ignoring the reality of what it is while putting so much emphasis on when it happens?
Totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, absolutely, people have a lot of reason to be mad right now.
Totally. Yeah.
But we're making it worse with this.
Yeah.
You know, so there are people out there who are protesting because they're citizens and they're tired of feeling oppressed by the police. Then there are people out there protesting because they're black and they're tired of being treated the way that they are by white people.
There are also a lot of protests for the oppression of blacks, where everybody's coming together, you know?
Right, yeah. And the diversity of the crowds that come together to speak out against those things is great. That's where we need to bond.
Yeah.
Taking up another person's fight, not because they're black, not because they're white, but because they're human and they fucking lost.
Yeah.
And they didn't deserve to lose as bad as they lost.
Yeah.
I don't care how guilty he may have been, you know, having drugs in his system or having whatever. Like, I just heard today that, well, he had drugs in his system and he had pre-existing conditions. And I'm like, so you're telling me that he would have died at that moment anyway? Well, yeah, it's possible.
No.
Get the
bullshit.
fuck out of here.
Bullshit.
You're telling me that he fared the same with someone else's knee, half his body weight, on his neck for 8 minutes.
The same,
It
yeah.
had nothing to do with it. Get out of here. And to be the cop
And the
who sees the unconscious body of someone and still feels the need for another 3.5 minutes, which is just about what it takes for someone to go from choked out to dead,
yeah.
to stay there. If this is ruled anything other than murder, I'm out there with you.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
If it goes that way,
Oh
it's
yeah.
over.
Oh yeah. Not a not. I mean, there's no question for
Yeah.
me. You know, like
Yeah.
that's someone's rights were already trampled on, and this just means like if that's the way that it's gonna go, like something's gonna happen.
And to the justice system, if you don't want to see it burned down, you need to see justice done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I shudder to think the team of lawyers that Chauvin's going to have. I shudder to think. Fucking rats that are going to go in and just try to get him off. I heard today that the charge was getting raised from a third-degree murder to a second-degree murder. And that scares me a little bit.
Why?
Because it would be no problem at all to go third degree. I can't even imagine him being acquitted of third degree. I can't imagine. I can imagine him getting acquitted of second degree.
Why?
So,
Because you have to have more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, you've
Okay.
got to prove more.
Yeah.
So, like, and as the prosecution, you pick a lane and you stay in it. Once you decide what the charge is, that's your job, to prove that charge true. If you can't prove that charge true, even if you absolutely could have proven this next lesser charge true, too bad.
Yeah.
And he can't be tried again for the same crime under the double jeopardy laws. So I'm a little worried, because if that happens, if they come out and say not guilty, this country's going to burn itself from the inside out, and will deserve it.
And right.
There's so much better. There's so much better out there, and it starts with looking just a little bit beyond the skin color of a person. Talk to them for 5 seconds,
Yeah.
and then make a better decision, and then talk to them for 30 more seconds and make a better decision. My
Yeah.
goodness. Really get to know someone before you call them an asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or at least before you write them off.
I saw a quote, and I don't remember who it's from, but it says, I find that I'm happier when I assume that everyone's just doing their best.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely.
You connect more with people.
Absolutely.
I'm as human as, you know, anybody down at the bottle drop, and I'm just as human as anybody at the grocery store, and I'm just as human as anybody who lives in New York right now, or California right now,
Haiti, or New Zealand,
or exactly, someone in another country. Everybody's trying their best, and I think that that's what's really frustrating about about all of this, is There are just people who are being put into boxes.
And the other thing, too, is we do it to each other. Within our own quote-unquote race. White people will tell whiter people how white they are. So there's always this push toward the middle. Like, I don't really understand it, but, like, you have such pretty skin if you're, like, a dark white girl or a light dark girl or a light black girl, whatever. For whatever reason. Who knows?
Like having a really nice tan.
Yeah, like a nice tan, olive complected, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Everything else, unacceptable.
Yeah.
You know, like you're too white. You're too, and for light-skinned black people, if you haven't seen Black White, the show, we're about 30 seconds into it, and I'm like, and it's good so far. There is one of the black guys on this show just said, you know, growing up as a kid, like being a light-skinned black man, it's like I got hate from white people because I was too dark, and I got hate from black people because I wasn't dark enough. And it just like this bell just dinged in my head. And it's like when you start to judge people based on something that shallow, there is no increment too small. I can make fun of you because you're 10% whiter than me. Some, you know, like a black person can make fun of a lighter skinned black person for being 20% lighter. And you sure don't want to be at the darkest end of the black spectrum.
Yeah.
Because then you're really going to get it. I mean, and they do. They make fun of each other for it. And we do too.
Totally. Absolutely.
So what about that? I mean, like, why do we allow ourselves to be on any part of that spectrum? Like, we got to just fucking drop it.
Yeah.
I have no expectations of you because of your skin color, your hair color, your eye color, your anything else. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's just talk and see what happens.
Yeah.
And so you see these like melting pot kind of places like New York City, like Chicago's still pretty rough, but like LA, where you've got a lot of different kinds of people. There's not a whole lot of racism in those places. They're much more progressive. And so they sort of pride themselves on being open-minded, and that happens because they've had more interactions with people that don't look like them.
Totally.
They've had the chance for it to be proven to them that I can have a really good, positive relationship with someone who doesn't look at all like me.
Yeah, and I think the beauty in those places is that it's not just a huge diversity of black people and white people, but you have, you know, Asian populations and you have Hispanic populations, and you have even
Middle
like
Eastern
just totally immigrants and or people who immigrated their families maybe one generation prior from
Ireland or
totally
whatever.
So we look a little different, but we're all just trying to fucking make it.
Right. And seriously, if you think about it, for me and for a, let's say like a 90-pound girl, we are so fundamentally different structures. So much more than anyone who is about my size and shape and has a darker skin color.
Yeah.
Did I say already that I'm tired of hearing people say that there were like pre-existing conditions and stuff?
Yeah.
To say he had pre-existing health conditions is fine. If that's
but
true.
But nothing that killed him.
Nothing that killed him in the same 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And also, you wouldn't need to have pre-existing health conditions to die under those circumstances.
Absolutely.
You could be healthy as a horse and die like that. So I don't even want to I'm just like I don't want to hear it. I don't even want
to hear it. Yeah.
It seriously is
nonsense.
Like, and I'm open to hearing most things, but like unless this guy was having a heart attack the moment that they cuffed him, I'm not buying it. I just am not buying it. It's so thin.
Yeah.
So I've heard two things. I don't want to say in defense, kind of in defense of fucking Chauvin. One's a conspiracy theory that George Floyd is not really dead. They're saying that the same coroner that did the autopsy for Jeffrey Epstein did George Floyd's autopsy. The problem with this whole theory is that his family has his body, and they've had an independent autopsy done. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
If it's a conspiracy, he's got to be alive still.
Right.
Because it's not he wasn't in on a conspiracy where he dies at the end. You know, and we wouldn't be hearing the same kinds of things. Like, I can't breathe until he's dead. We would be hearing, like, it's not, dude, I'm fucking serious.
Yeah.
Like,
stop. I don't want to do this.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm out.
I'm out.
That kind of thing. Anyway, I can't imagine that he was in on a conspiracy theory. It's very hard to imagine that it was a conspiracy to commit murder also. Like if it was a conspiracy that he wasn't in on. Those are the options where conspiracy goes. Hard to imagine either of those. But the other defense is this, like, I guess going for, like, he was gonna die anyway. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like
Yeah.
that, if you're arguing that, you got to take a look at yourself for real.
Yeah.
Like,
I
don't
heard
know.
someone say, well, I believe it was police brutality, but I don't believe it was murder. And I'm like, so where's the difference? Because he
police
died?
brutality to death?
Yeah, right. That's
What
what
else
I'm
is
saying.
it?
That's what I'm saying.
What are we talking about?
I know.
You know, and I mean, here's the thing. There are white people who are going to argue this because they don't want another one of the people that they're going to get judged with to be guilty of something so shitty. But my goodness,
Yeah.
stop being on that side then.
That is part of the problem. That is being part of the problem.
Yeah, like you can, if you want to be on that side, like just understand that you're choosing that side.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to wrap this up.
I don't know
Honestly.
either. We'll probably be back. We'll probably get through 30 seconds
Yeah,
of this
seriously.
show and
yeah,
be
we
back.
should just pause, I guess. We've got to increase our positive expectancy of other people. And
Totally.
then when they let you down, and inevitably it'll happen sometimes, that you'll go in with a good expectation, you'll go in friendly and disarming and like all of this stuff, and you'll still have a bad experience sometimes. Let it go.
Yeah.
You can't superimpose that onto your next interaction.
Totally.
That's so important.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is you got to realize, like, I as a white person have times where I am just like so fed up with another white person. It doesn't enter my mind for a second that it might be a racial thing.
No.
But if the
right.
same person did the exact same thing with a different color skin, would it enter my mind? Like, was that a racially induced thing? So, I mean, like, we're
Yeah.
judging the same interactions as being racist, and it's racist on our part to do so.
Yeah.
We're judging those interactions based on the race of the other person.
Yeah.
I mean, it's second tier racism, but still, like,
It's
maybe they just really had a problem with you.
yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe you just really had a problem with them, and that happens.
Yeah.
We have different opinions. You know, the person who told me I had to leave because of the social distancing thing,
Right.
and I really had a problem with that person.
Yeah.
And she really had a problem with me. And if we
Are
were
you
different
talk-
skin
Okay.
colors,
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah.
would we both walk away thinking like that we just had a racially motivated, negative experience?
I don't know.
Anyway, all I'm saying
Yeah.
is racism seems very prevalent on television, doesn't seem nearly as prevalent in real life. And even when it happens, it probably doesn't happen as often as we think it happens.
Yeah. Well, we just see it all the time.
And I can just say this. If there are any more instances where you have a genuine disagreement with a person of a different color, and either of you walk away thinking that it was racially motivated, then, I mean, if that happens at all, then racism is actually not as bad as it seems. I guess that doesn't make sense to you.
No, that doesn't
So
make sense.
imagine the person, the woman that I'm talking about. Imagine she's black, and me, a white guy, is in doing the exact same thing,
Yeah.
saying the exact same things. When I walk out, is there any part of my mind that thinks that that happened because of race? And it wasn't, because it would have happened as we saw, it happened the exact same way, and we're the same skin color. If what I believe I experienced is not really what I experienced, or was not really the intention, then racism automatically seems worse in that case than it is.
Okay. Gotcha.
So what I'm trying to say is, if that happens at all in multiplicity across the U.S., and I can't imagine that it doesn't, then racism, even in real life, seems worse than it is.
Right. It's like my problem with the woman at the laundromat.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, totally. No, yeah, I definitely, absolutely will, because it's just a completely different just a different mindset than where I was, you know. I was at the laundromat, and there was a woman who had 5 kids,
Okay.
and they were all running around that place, like pushing their cart into me.
Totally out of control.
Absolutely out of control. And it was like, I hated going to the laundromat, so I was already frustrated. And so I called you up and I said, this Mexican woman at the laundromat, you know, just lets her kids tear the place apart, you know. It's so rude. And you said, well, what does it matter that she's Mexican? I was like, oh my God. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't. It had no bearing on the situation.
What if she was a white person whose kids were tearing the place apart?
I've seen plenty of white people whose kids are out of control. There's a couple that my mom cuts their hair, and she just lets her kids run a fucking muck.
Okay.
All over the place.
So that's another example. You experienced something that you would be mad about no matter
what.
the race of that person.
Absolutely.
And in your mind, it turned into a racial issue.
I didn't intend for it to go there,
I understand.
Right.
But that's the mindset. I mean, that's the
totally.
mindset that we need to break out of.
Yeah.
So, and thank you for sharing that. It's hard to admit that we fucked up that bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's why I'm okay talking about it, because I don't think that way anymore.
Yeah. Good.
I don't know. We had a friend who said something like that yesterday, and it was like, ugh, man, that's how I sounded.
Yeah.
You know, when it truly has just no bearing on
and
the situation at all.
And seriously, again, yesterday when that happened, I'm the one who said it. Like, what does her race have to do with it? You should watch out for those things.
Totally. No, and I would have said it.
It's so easy to say.
But you said it right away.
Okay.
And those were the exact words that would have come out of my mouth.
Okay.
Because I've been there. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And I had never had someone tell me that before, because of the people that I grew up around, where it was just like stuff like that was just said.
Yeah.
You just learn. Life is so hard.
Whoever you are.
Life can be so fucking hard.
Even if you're a rich kid
Totally.
and you have everything handed to you,
Totally.
and what you end up being when you're 30 is weak and you can't survive. And if shit really went down, if your money didn't mean anything anymore, you'd be screwed.
Yeah.
It is really hard to commiserate with someone who's rich enough that they can buy whatever they want and whoever they want.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
But even them, they're going to have their struggles. And they have...
Everybody goes through their shit.
And not only that, but like that person who has everything handed to them may be a wreck when it comes to relationships. There's nothing about money is going to keep you from being depressed. Like, I mean, you know, you've got like Daniel Tosh who said, I've never seen
someone frown while
on a jet ski.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you can be on a jet ski and be depressed.
Totally.
Money can't fix your internal problems at all. Those people have their struggles as well.
Yeah.
Everybody's got something going on. And we just don't need to increase it. We just don't need to exacerbate everybody's issues.
Yeah.
So.
And it is a much more peaceful place to really truly believe that not only are most people good and most people are trying their best, but like most people are we're all lost sometimes, and we all go through the same stuff.
So I think this is the time to ask yourself, are there hints of that in me? And then really decide, I'm not going to be a part of that anymore. The critical mass that I talk about of the consciousness of people, are you going to be part of that critical mass that it requires to change the way that we look at each other?
Yeah.
To judge each other based on better criteria, how we are as people. At least start there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to advocate for like going from being a full-on racist to being someone who doesn't judge anyone for anything. It's quite a few steps down the road, but can we start judging each other for better things? We can't just ignore it away. And we really tried. I think we're more likely to hear racist things when we're around people who are very close to our skin color. If they feel those things, they don't feel like they're going to offend you by saying them.
Yeah.
Even though they might.
Yeah.
And I still get that sometimes, where people who look kind of a lot like me will start saying things that are racist to me,
Yeah.
and it offends me,
Totally.
and I say something about it, and I mean, like, we really tried to ignore it away.
Yeah.
The further I get down my own path, the more I realize growth in every single form is always about education.
Mm-hmm.
We have to educate ourselves.
Yeah.
No, ignoring it didn't take it away.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I look back, of course it wouldn't.
Right. The whole, like, I don't see color. Is that what you're talking
Right.
about? It's
Yeah.
Like, well, why not? I mean, like...
Like it's a
that's
bad
not-
thing to
right.
see.
Yeah. Right.
Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Here's the thing. If it's a bad thing to see, then that means that it's a bad thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, absolutely it's there.
Yeah.
You look very much different than I do.
Mm-hmm.
And so does, this other person, and this much shorter person, and this much heavier person, and whoever else.
Mm-hmm.
Why should we ever not see our differences?
Yeah.
Our differences need to be celebrated as something that makes us unique, not something to be measured against.
Yeah.
And we're so busy just measuring ourselves against everyone else.
Yeah.
So I think that self-acceptance, if anything, it helps us to drop that mindset of measuring ourselves against something,
Yeah.
against someone else at least. Measure yourself against yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you can, and this is the Michael Jordan thing, where he said, he's like, I'm not trying to be better than anybody else. I'm just trying to be better than me yesterday. And that's applicable everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We can do that.
Yeah. Elon... I'm going on a first name basis now.
Sure.
No, Elon Musk, when he was on Joe Rogan this last time, said that, like, life is all about just trying to be better,
Yeah.
And how
But trying
can you do that?
Yeah, but trying to do better than each other is what gets us financial imbalances, and it's what gets us body dysmorphia,
Yeah.
and what gets us jealousy. I mean, it introduces all these things that are so bad for us.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a continuous thing. It's almost like a meditation where I need to think about this every day. I need to reinforce in my own mind that I accept myself and I accept other people. It's a practice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
trust me, there's a lot of opportunity to practice. But we should be, every time we should be doing a little better. We should be like really kind of critiquing ourselves. Did I mess that up? Did I
Yeah.
did I damage a relationship with someone based on our differences?
Yeah.
Can I do it better?